The Black Death. Some historians have concluded that traders who had been trading in the Middle East brought the plague to Europe. This first outbreak in the 600s was the most terrible of all. It is estimated that at least 1/3 of the population of Europe died during this outbreak. The plague existed throughout much of Europe, but it arrived in England in 1348 CE. This terrible disease created a sense of terror. It spread throughout England and eventually made its way into Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Carried by infected fleas that lived on rodents, it spread quickly through the dirty towns and cities. It affected every level of society. Nobles as well as serfs were struck down by this terrible disease. The plague returned at least 8 times in the 1300s and another 14 times in the 1400s. Spread of the Black Death. So this just shows you where it spread in each of these years. The following account of the plague was written down by a man named Henry Knighton. Henry Knighton was a canon or member of the church in Leicester, England. This is what he said in 1348 CE. The dreadful pestilence penetrated the sea-coast by Southampton and came to Bristol, and there almost the whole population of the town perished, as if it had been seized by sudden death, for few kept their beds more than 2 or 3 days, or even half a day. Then this cruel death spread everywhere around, following the course of the sun, and there died at Leicester in the small parish of St. Leonard more than 380 persons, in the parish of Holy Cross 400, in the parish of St. Margaret's, Leicester 700, and so in every parish a great multitude. All kinds of change. People fought wars differently by the end of the Middle Ages than they had earlier. Cannons and firearms changed what happened on the battlefields of Europe. Skilled archers and mounted knights were no match for such devastating weapons. The machinery of war was changing and becoming even more deadly. Cannons used during the siege of Orleans. Another significant occurrence in the Middle Ages was the growth of towns and cities. This development transformed European society. As more and more people moved from the countryside to seek employment elsewhere, the Lord's role changed. Over time, townspeople were no longer subject to his authority. The ties of feudalism began to unravel. In addition, exploration and trade opened people's eyes to other places, ideas, and cultures. The invention of the compass had a navigational tool called the astrolabe. The invention of the compass and a navigational tool called the astrolabe enabled sailors to embark on even more daring voyages. The invention of the printing press in 1450 CE, without a doubt, transformed European society. The ability to produce books, pamphlets, and newspapers helped to spread knowledge and new ideas. Books, once a luxury, gradually became more affordable. The desire and need to know how to read and write grew among different social groups. So here is an astrolabe from the 1400s. This is super cool. And then this down here, it says the printing press from 1498 CE. Medieval musings. Many people in the Middle Ages believed that something that one of your senses could detect caused the plague and other diseases. What was it? So if you want to Google that, if you have extra time, you can do that. Many people in the Middle Ages believed that something that one of your senses could detect caused the plague and other diseases. You might want to Google the plague and senses. Then down here, this caption below this illustration says, medieval illustration of priest blessing victims of disease. And here's your final letter quest. See if you can find it on here and go put it on page 23, 2.3, and then try to unscramble the letters and see if you can figure out what the word is.